You used to want things, the PR, the early run, the project that lit you up. Now everything just feels gray. You open your phone before your feet hit the floor. You eat the sugar, you scroll the feed, and somehow you feel emptier than before. Here's what almost nobody tells you. This isn't laziness and it isn't a character flaw. It's chemistry. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly why your drive disappeared and the concrete steps the research suggests for getting it back. It comes down to one molecule everyone gets wrong: dopamine. Picture the masked operator standing at the foot of a mountain, a glowing teal trail running all the way up. Most people think dopamine is the feeling at the summit. The pleasure, the reward? They're wrong. Dopamine isn't the summit. It's the force that drags you up the hill. It's wanting, not having. The dominant research view calls this incentive salience. Dopamine drives the wanting, the pursuit, the urge to chase. And wanting is a completely separate system from liking, the actual pleasure of getting the thing. In the landmark animal evidence, rats had nearly all their dopamine depleted. You'd expect them to lose all pleasure. Instead, their pleasure reactions to sugar stayed completely normal. What collapsed was the motivation to seek food at all. Take away dopamine and the pleasure stays. The chase disappears. That's the whole story in one experiment. So dopamine is the gas pedal of pursuit, not the feeling of arrival. It's the molecule of more. Now here's where it gets practical. Dopamine neurons fire as a teaching signal, coding the gap between what you expected and what you got. Scientists call it reward prediction error. An unexpected reward fires a big burst. A surprise lights you up. But once a cue reliably predicts the reward, the burst jumps backward onto the cue. The reward itself goes quiet. And if a predicted reward never arrives, dopamine dips below baseline. That dip is the feeling of letdown. This is why the anticipation often feels better than the payoff, and why novelty always spikes harder than routine. It's also why the 100th scroll feels like nothing. Your brain only flags surprise, never the thing itself. Your dopamine runs on two layers. A slow, steady baseline tone, your resting motivational set point. And fast, sharp spikes that fire for salient, surprising events. Healthy drive is the contrast between the two. Here's the trap. A spike only feels like a spike relative to your baseline. So watch what happens when you flood the system. Modern life is engineered to flood it. Sugar, ultra-processed food, endless short video, gambling-style apps. These push dopamine far past anything nature ever built. So the brain does the only thing it can. It protects itself. It downregulates. It dampens dopamine release and pulls back its own receptors, the docks that catch the signal. Researchers watched this happen with something as ordinary as sugar. Just 12 days of daily access. After less than 2 weeks of sugar, receptor availability dropped across the reward regions, the same adaptation seen in addiction. In humans with chronic stimulant use, brain imaging shows the same signature, markedly fewer striatal receptors. Around 15 to 17% fewer receptors. That's the human fingerprint of a desensitized reward system. The result has two parts. First, tolerance. You need more and more just to feel the same hit you used to get for free. Second, and this is the one that hurts, a lowered baseline. So ordinary life goes flat. A normal meal, a walk, a conversation, a workout, they stop landing. That flatness has a name, anhedonia. Picture a seesaw inside a glowing skull. The same brain regions process pleasure and pain, like a balance fighting to stay level. Tip it hard toward pleasure, and the brain overcorrects to the pain side to get back to neutral. Every spike borrows from your baseline. The high is followed by an equal and opposite come down. Chase pleasure relentlessly, and the pivot point itself sinks. Your whole set point drifts toward the pain side. That is the gray feeling. That's why nothing feels worth it anymore. Boredom is math, not weakness. So what does this actually feel like from the inside? You know it already. You can't focus. You start a task and within seconds your hand reaches for the phone, the cheapest dopamine in the room. Things you used to love feel like chores. The motivation to even start just isn't there. You feel restless and tired at the same time. Wired, but going nowhere. And here's the part that matters most before we fix it. You cannot out-supplement a down-regulated baseline. There is no pill that buys back your drive, but you can protect that baseline and over time, you can rebuild it. Now, you've probably heard the fix is a dopamine detox. Sit in a dark room, starve the system, reset your receptors. That's a misunderstanding of the science. Even the man who coined the term, Dr. Cameron Seppa, says the name is misleading. You can't drain your dopamine in a dark room. That's not how this works, and one boring afternoon resets nothing. Sensitivity changes happen over days and weeks, not hours. And everyday tech only bumps dopamine 50 to 100%. Modest, next to cocaine at around 350%, or amphetamine over 1,000. So phones aren't a drug, they're a leak. So the real lever isn't subtraction, it's a swap. Trade cheap, instant, effortless hits for slow, effort-first rewards. You don't detox your dopamine. Over weeks, you recalibrate what it works for. Here's how the research says to do it. Step 1. A no-phone morning. Don't open your day with the cheapest, most effortless dopamine source you own. Be honest, there's no PET scan proving this resets receptors. It's a behavioral habit, protecting your morning before the floods start. Reach for the window instead of the feed. Let the first input of your day be light, not a screen. Step 2. And this is the big one. Do the hard thing first, before the easy reward. Research frames dopamine as a motivation signal for pursuing effortful goals. A common approach is to front-load the hard task. When humans were PET scanned doing an effort task, the go-getters who chose hard work showed more dopamine in the drive regions. The willingness to grind isn't willpower mysticism. It tracks a measurable brain signal, and that signal can be trained. The danger is the effortless spike. A scroll before the session spends the exact drive you needed for the work. So stack the reward after the effort, never before. Earned dopamine builds the baseline. Free dopamine bankrupts it. And here's the athlete's secret. When effort is repeatedly paired with reward, the effort itself becomes the reward. Discipline isn't being born tougher. It's a trained reward circuit, a brain that learned to crave the hard part. Step 3. Exercise. This is the strongest receptor upregulation signal we have. In people whose dopamine systems were depleted, 8 weeks of structured training raised receptor availability in the reward hub. Almost 14% more receptors. The brain literally got better at using dopamine. Effort upgrades the hardware. Now the honest nuance. That was a depleted population. It shows exercise can move receptors where they're low. Promising, not proof for everyone. And it matters even more after 40. Dopamine receptors thin out roughly 4 to 5% every decade. But active adults barely show that drop. In one study, the sedentary brain declined steeply with age, while the active brain held its glow. The flat, unmotivated, harder to get going feeling after 40 isn't you getting lazy. Your reward chemistry got quieter. Training turns the volume back up. Step 4. Cold and sunlight, the opposite of a phone's spike and crash. Cold water immersion raised dopamine around 250% above baseline, and it stayed elevated for hours, not minutes. That's the whole thesis in one chart. Cheap dopamine spikes and crashes. Earned dopamine climbs and holds. And morning light may support healthier signaling. People with high sun exposure had significantly more dopamine receptors than low-exposure people. Light also anchors your circadian rhythm, which stabilizes dopamine across the entire day. Cold has real risks, though, so this is a description, not a directive. Step 5. Protect what you already have. Sleep. You don't only gain sensitivity by adding cold and sun. You lose it by undersleeping. A single night of sleep deprivation downregulated receptors in the ventral striatum, tracking with less alertness and more sleepiness. Sleep is the cheapest receptor protector you have. Skip it, and you sabotage every other lever on this list. One more rule that ties it together. Don't stack every booster at once. Pre-workout, caffeine, loud music, hype, every single session. Pile them all on and you blunt the reward and crash after. Vary it. And make the effort itself the win, to protect baseline. Now zoom out, because this is the reframe that changes everything. The same wiring that makes you crave a PR or a 5 a.m. run is the wiring cheap dopamine hijacks and flattens. Your phone didn't break your dopamine. It rewired what your dopamine works for. Your job is to point it back at things that matter. You feel less because you chase less. The calm operator isn't numb. His baseline is intact, so the real things still hit. The part I'm legally and honestly required to say, this is what the research suggests, not a prescription. Much of the cleanest mechanism work is in animals or special populations, and dopamine is one part of a larger reward system, not a master switch. This is promising, mechanistically grounded, but not a guaranteed personal reset. If your motivation or mood feels clinical, that's a conversation for a doctor. But the direction is clear, and it's free. The cleanest dopamine you can buy isn't sold in a bottle, it's earned. So stop chasing the spike. Start earning it. Do the hard thing first, get the sun, sleep, train, and watch the gray come back to color over weeks. If this hit, the full protocols and the science breakdowns live at jackedhybrid.com. Go earn your drive back. I'll see you there.